Morning, Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. Our conversation this morning borders on investing in women for national development. And to set the tone for our conversation, let's get this background report put together by Joseph Otsen.
Women constitute a large proportion of the Nigerian population, amounting to 110 million in 2023, based on statistics report. Over the years, women have equally contributed significantly to the development of the country. Few have held and are holding key positions like the current Director General of the World Trade Organization and former Minister of Finance Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and Amina Mohammed, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations and former Nigerian Minister of Environment. These are a few examples that have made it to the top, both at the local and international levels. However, the contribution of women to economic growth in Nigeria is felt more in the rural areas where many engage in agriculture and trade to cater for their families. Though the Nigerian Constitution provides for gender equality and non-discrimination, many women suffer injustice and marginalization. This is often as a result of discriminatory laws, religious and cultural norms, gender stereotype, low level of education, and the disproportionate effect of poverty on women. For instance, United Nations report has it that about 43% of women aged 20 to 24 years old are married or in a union before age 18. Meanwhile, across all national and sub-national categories in the last general elections, women represented just over 10% out of the more than 15,000 candidates who ran in the exercise. The United Nations believe if the trends of gender inequality continues globally, more than 342 million women and girls could be living in extreme poverty by 2030. It projects that closing the gaps in care and expanding services with decent jobs could spark almost 300 million jobs by 2035, which will contribute significantly to GDPs. With the world facing many crises, ranging from geopolitical conflicts to increasing poverty levels and the escalating impact of climate change, the UN is advocating empowerment of women as a tool to transiting towards a healthier, safer, and more equal world for all. On Good Morning Nigeria, guests will take a look at investing in women for national development.
All right, thank you very much, Joseph Hussein. And to discuss investing in women for national development, let me make welcome here in Abuja Professor Joy Ezilo, SAN, a law professor and emeritus dean of law at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Professor Ezilo is also a former commissioner of Women Affairs and Social Development in Enugu State, founder of Women's Aid Collective, a former UN Special Rapporteur, and currently an expert on UN International Fact-Finding Mission to Sudan. Professor Ezilo, a pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you, and good morning Nigeria, and happy International Women's Day to Nigerian women.
All right, and we also have here in Abuja, Suwaiba Mohammed Dankabo, Director of Program Action Aid Nigeria. She is also Human and Development Psychologist, founder and chair, Board of Trustees, Institute for Learning and Sustainable Development. Thank you for coming on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Good morning Nigeria, good morning women.
All right, I'm very excited. It's my day. We've got three women in the studio, and also joining us for the conversation is Asmao Benziz Leo, gender and development expert. Good to have you join us for the conversation.
Good morning, Nigerians, and happy International Women's Day.
Okay, so it's safe to say happy Women's Day to all of us. I think I'm the only one
excluding Victor.
Including
Victor. I will give you the requirement if you want to celebrate with us, but that will be after the program.
Okay. So let's begin the conversation. Let me begin with Professor Ezilo. Could you situate for us the place of women in national development, as you see it?
Thank you so much. I think when you talk about the place of women, and here in this context, I think it's women in Nigeria, and is dismal, is below what we're expecting, because women have been excluded where it matters most. They've been excluded in the economy, in the politics. When you look at the numbers in education, even though they're catching up, and their health, well-being, in terms of maternal mortality, the high rate of maternal mortality is also at risk. So if you look, the exclusion is what we are talking about. And that's why the theme of International Women's Day is talking about inclusion. Inclusion, inspiring inclusion for not just a healthier society, but an improved status of women will mean also progress for nations. I want to put it on record, in over 100 years of Nigeria's development and history, women have played a significant role, whether in pre-colonial times, in colonial time, in postmodern making of Nigerian state. But however, those have not translated in actual investment in the status of women, and women taking their place, including even the most critical, their right to participate in the government of their country as a few human being. There is so much sex discrimination against women that even question the legal personality of a woman, that women are treated as mini persons, sometimes as a person of a sound mind. I'm a law professor. If you look at some of the letters of the law, when you talk about giving out to a child, a woman is not counted as one that is equal to a man, even in evidence, even is littered all over, the distinction, discrimination, that all translate to gender injustice. And if you now ask, if you educate a woman, you actually see the ripple effect on the family and the society. If women are on the peace table, you can even see immediate end to conflict that we have. If women are where we talk about good governance and making law for the countries, you can see that translate to the benefit. And you don't do that same assumption with men. And I don't mean it in a negative way. Because, for example, if you empower a man, the first immediate need might be, okay, I need to marry maybe another wife. I need to, build a house. If you put the money in a woman, the woman will think first, my family, my children, immediate benefit, well-being, and their surroundings and the environment. You see? So that's why we say even women can help raise the quality of leadership. Women can help mitigate even the conflict and end the insecurity. But you look at their status 100 years after. Yes, we've made some progress, I must say. We've made progress. I recall before Beijing how the establishment of ministries of women affairs, there are institutions there. But again, the institution doesn't necessarily translate to women's empowerment or the empowerment of men and girls. And the Sustainable Development Goal, Agenda 2030, is very clear. It's very clear about empowerment of all women and girls, about preventing and ending all forms of violence against women and girls, about inclusion. And that inclusion includes inclusion in economy, investing in women's health, reducing the risk and mitigating. Look at this school thing. When you talk about no safe cities, no safe school, the greatest effect is on the girl child, is on women. And again, it's now beginning to, even when parents have to say, why do I have to expose my daughter if I have to send them school and they will be abducted? So it's now going to roll back even the gains that we have made with regard to girl child education. And that's a risk. So Nigerian women still face multiplicity of risk. And what I'm saying, that we must recognize that women's right is an integral part, is an indivisible part of universal human rights. And that human rights are women's rights. And women's right is very important for a sustainable democracy and a sustainable development. And for a nation to stand strongly. You can't stand on one foot and expect to run and succeed. No. You need the women. We need men. Women, men working hand in hand, solving our collective problem, using our commonwealth to advance our collective well-being. And I think it's a time, because Nigerian women are so gifted, but the country have been unable to utilize
their potential.
Exactly.
I guess I'll be taking all the bullets for the men here today.
No, there are men working with women, and I recognize them.
Prof, thank you so much for your opening comments there. You have said that Nigerian women are excluded, from playing their role in national development, and I'd like to find out some of the factors that are responsible, for this exclusion. And that question is going to Suwaiba Dankabo, Director of Program Action Aid. Deputy Country Director of Action Aid. You listen to Prof, talk passionately about, the fact that women are taking the back seat. What are the factors responsible for this?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here. Prof, thank you for laying a very good foundation for this discussion. The reasons why women are taking the back seat or are being excluded is not far-fetched. We have a lot of gender discrimination playing around the cultural barriers, political barriers, educationally, health-wise. A situation where you have a government that have a kind of policy that are assaulting the issue of insecurity in the country. When the policy is being made by the majority of men playing on the table without the equitable response by the women sitting on the same place, the decisions that are taken there will not be equal to the decision that will be taken if the women by themselves are sitting there on the same table. So democracy starts with effective and democratic elections. Without the women political participation, the issue of decision making is very, very low. So the policy reforms will exclude the issues that affect women directly. Secondly, the barriers that are playing from the cultural side. We are living in a world that is highly, highly patriarchal. Nigeria not exclusive. When men decision is the first, a woman is considered a second citizen. Your decision comes second. And the opportunities for a lady to reach her highest potential is not given because of the fact that it is assumed that the man given the responsibility will trickle down to the woman. And then the culture has put responsibilities for women without necessarily putting together commensurate requirements for her to achieve those. We play triple roles: productive, development responsibilities, and then reproductive roles. Where a woman has to play her reproductive roles, and there's no opportunities in terms of all the requirements that she needs. Equitable healthcare services are not available for her to even deliver in hospitals, and then have her health. When she is lactating, she is not able to have enough nutritional balance to be. She is in fact, when it comes to the issues of security, look at the majority of women that are putting food on the table. We have more than 60%. Nigeria, women have constituted up to 110 million, almost, but 40% of the country population. How many of us are doing well when it comes to businesses? With the majority of women being poor, yet putting the food on the table. Again, the issue of insecurity, abduction. Just last week, we had a story of more than how many women being abducted in Maiduguri, in Borno State. Where were they going to? They were going to fetch firewood. They were in camp. Why is it that they are not protected? If the camp is providing security for the women, why would the women be responsible to go and fetch firewood for them, for their own feeding? They were abducted along that line. It means that we are not ready. The country is not yet ready in the provision for the woman in terms of necessary, cooking energy that she requires. We are talking about climate change. We are talking about environmental, issues. But then we are not prepared. So the denials are around, is visible, just like Prof said. You can feel it. It's palpable. The issue of inequality, denials all over. The basic requirements, the basic needs that a woman require to be dignified, but to achieve her own self-dignity is not there. 1 in every 3 women in Nigeria experience sexual harassment, violence all over. With the number that is, once the woman experiences that, she's taken aback. The gains of development that was achieved over the last decade is now swept away by the continuous issues of insecurity. We will no longer go to farm. With the new reform policy of the naira devaluation, of subsidy removal, whatever, it was done in good intention. However, it has thrown back many women back into poverty. Even with the economic empowerment that we have experienced over a long time, we started having businesses. Women started coming up. Smallholder women farmers are experiencing increase in yields, and sometimes so many. However, this new policy reform that is not consultative, it's not gender responsive, not gender sensitive. Many women can no longer continue with the businesses they are. In fact, women are now prefer to even remove their children from school. You have a male daughter, a child who is a female. You cannot be proudly say, my daughter is going to school to come back, safely. So the ultimate choice to protect this girl is for her to remain at home too. So there are so many things that are playing. The policy, the reforms are not gender sensitive. The decisions that are being made are not gender friendly. The issues around the responsibilities that are placed on women. When we talk about investment on women start from the young woman. From the day she's born, she is a woman. How is she received? Is she considered as a woman with dignity from that level? Another investment that we should be looking at is the environment. Investment in the kind of culture and the perception on society about this particular person who is a growing woman, and then the investment in her education, investment in her health, investment in her business and income generation, to be a person that has equal responsibility in the society. So there is a lot that is playing, that is really making women to take a back seat, and now fear of uncertainty. You can't walk without looking back. The streets are not safe. Workplace is not safe. The government is not looking at those challenges that women are facing to make policies gender sensitive. We are struggling, and then just like Prof said, there's a lot that needs to be put on table, and then there's room for dialogue, but we can't have those dialogues without really having women's voices to be on the table, to be able to decide exactly where they feel the pains and how this will be taken care of. And this can only be done when they also have the opportunity of taking the leadership positions and also making the decisions that is available. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that opening comment. I was saying earlier that I may have to take the bullets for all the men, and I hope I can cope.
You may not survive.
Prof had fired one earlier that the first thing men think about is to marry a second wife. But it's okay. let me get to the Asmao Benzis Leo, who is a gender and development expert. Now, the reward for hard work is more work. I say this from the perspective of someone who admits and who understands that women are coming from a disadvantaged position, and so you probably have to work twice as hard. Opportunities have been given, not a lot. And you found a situation where, while some have distinguished themselves, well, some haven't done the women folk too proud. And so when you have this kind of situation, it becomes somewhat of a kind of disadvantage. I'm sure you will agree with that. However, Let me make it look like you're making a pitch. Give us an insight into women who have taken giant strides, who have made extra efforts beyond the shore of their natural calling.
Thank you so much for women have done a lot, and you said that it's time for reward.
And I want to throw it back to you. Reward for what? Reward for what for a Nigerian woman? Can we easily sit down on this table and begin to say that Nigerian women have been rewarded? That is just one of it. And you also mentioned the issue of women in leadership. Some have done well, some haven't done well. It's not the issue of women. It's the issue of humanity. Both Nigerian men and Nigerian women have done their bit and contributed effectively, maximally to nation building, right from independence, just like Prof said, from pre-independence and post-independence. Nigerian women have contributed a lot. And the question I also want to throw back at you is that what is the reward of the contribution of women in all sectors of the economy, be it from trade, commerce, politics, socio-cultural development, even in the religious setting? Nigerian women have contributed a lot. But what we see most times, educationally too, because the greatest people doing Nigerian proud in every sector, both nationally and internationally, are the women. And I will say that with all sense of responsibility. Look at the Falcons. When I saw the rating of the Falcons, from 1991 till date, they've been topping the African Cup of Nations and have done well globally. When they talk about women from Africa, women, black African women, you talk of Nigerian women. When we mention women like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, everybody knows she is a proudly Nigerian woman, and by all standards merited her position, both at the World Bank and now World Trade Organization. When you mention women like Amina Mohammed, we are talking about a woman that is second at the United Nations, the peak of multilateral organization in the world. When you come over to Nigeria, we have great women who are doing exploit in Nigeria. When you say reward, we deserve to be rewarded. We deserve to be rewarded because we have contributed. This is, I'm talking about contemporary women. When we go back to the line, back to history, women like Gambo Sawaba, women like Laila Dogon Yaro, women like Fumiran Sankoti, women like Margaret Echo, even women prehistoric times, women like the Queen Amina of Zazzau. Women have done great. But what we see always portrayed, when we begin to portray women, we always look at women from the victim side. Women are not victims. We are active players on every sector. And that's how I want to be perceived. And I feel every Nigerian woman wants to be perceived as a victor, not a victim. We have fought the fight and we have won the race. And that is where we are today. And so be it that, but not without challenges. We know that Nigerian women are going through a lot of challenges, especially at the parliament. We have less than how many percent of women both at the upper house and the lower chamber. And that is not encouraging. Nigeria says we are the giant of Africa. But if we look at other countries who are just nearby, look at South Africa, look at Rwanda that we are making as a model for women political representation. What is happening to Nigeria? Why can't Nigerian women get to that level if we know we have the capacity? But because of the patriarchal nature, just like Hajia Suwaibat said, it started from our socialization. Girls were taught that this is what you can do and this is what you cannot do. They put barriers on what we can achieve and what we cannot achieve. But who said we cannot achieve this? It is something that every human being has that. And that's why when I discuss with the men, I don't always put it, this imposter syndrome that women always display doesn't help. Why can't we but just be there and let there be a competition? And when there is a competition, we all win, equitably. There's something that somebody said, the affirmative action. Yes, I'm a proponent of affirmative action. But beyond affirmative action, I feel, because men use that as if they're giving us what? Something on a platter of gold. We don't need that. We deserve more than 35%. Nigerian women contribute over 50% of whatever it is that we have in this country, and so we deserve 50%. That means equally 50 men, 50 women.
Beautiful stand, Asmao. And I like the fact that we have vibrant women on the show this morning. airing their views as regards the place of women in the country. And that brings me to you, Prof. I'm glad that you talked about the political space and the fact that at the moment we have, the numbers are reducing in the political space. What we used to have and what we have today, if you want to look at the Senate and the House of Reps. And
I'm not
even
sure this term is better than last.
No, it's
no. In terms of elective positions, Victor, the numbers have actually reduced. So, Prof, that brings me to you. When we talk about politics and the Nigerian woman, 25% affirmative action always comes into a perspective. People always say, maybe women should be handed some positions, or some positions should be reserved for women. And the men have come out to say that if women truly want these positions, they should fight for it. So, in your view, what is the problem? Is it that the women have not built capacity politically, to be able to take their space? Like Asma said, 50%. Why are we not seeing more women come out for political positions and then going out for it? And even for the few that have dared, to venture, we see that they don't even get the support of women themselves. So, what's the problem?
I think there is many problems, and we have many barricades on that. Our politics, the environment is not enabling, even for the men. Then much less for the women. It has become a double-edged, sword. For women, many of they have tried to participate, and that they are trying to get involved. Sometimes it has resulted in huge failures because of the terrain. Politics as it is in Nigeria today, we know is highly monetized. And if you don't have the access to means of production, you don't have the capital, you don't have the money, you can't go far. And if you don't have the godfather, and we don't have many godmothers, I would like to say, then you don't also go far. The truth is that politics has become the greatest, and I think easiest, I use in quote, to access to money. And then everybody is struggling for the same thing. And for women that have been marginalized, because actually, just imagine if there is a race competition and you're an athlete and they said, okay, everybody on your marks, and then you're ready to run. And if you're not on the same level with the person that they put on that same mark, if the one is already 10 feet 5 behind, even 50 meters make a lot of difference. Do you expect that they will get into the goalpost at the same time? No, it won't, because the issue is that there is so many struggling blocks, starting from cultural and some religious particularities that treat and regard women and women's role, that created that dichotomy of public and private spheres, dichotomy of productive and reproductive roles, the dichotomy of a place of a woman that should be in a domestic sphere. And we've had a past president who even was in a foreign trip, who now said women belong to the other room. So when you have this, is a prevailing strong ideology. And if you have that kind of prevailing strong ideology, it's not something, that's what women work against. There are many, we're not talking of many competent women. Even, yes, some parties have tried to say we're going to remove some of the obstacles. If it's money, let us waive nomination fees or expression of interest fees. That one has become a double-edged sword, because women also face discrimination. The fact that they didn't pay even that fees, so they are the first to be asked to step down. For me, I even advocate that they have to pay for it. If you're making a budget for politics, for running for office, you have to include the budget of everything, and then work towards paying that, so that they don't say, oh, you didn't contribute, oh, step down, next time we'll compensate you by appointing position. So we've seen declined since 1999. In fact, by 2021, it peaked in terms of number of women in parliament across the country at national and state level. And then from 2015, and I made this comment very clear, I did assessment of 2015 election, we saw a sharp nosedive, and that has been maintained. It's actually getting worse. If you look at number of women in the Senate, is it not 4? If you look at the number of from 8, 9 before, if you look at the number of women in the House of Reps from 20 something, 27 to 22 to down to, is it 15 or 13? So it is really, and out of what number? 360. What percentage is that? Then you're looking at less than 5%. In fact, nationally, we have had persistently under 10% representation of women in elective position. And when you even talk about appointed position, the 30% mark of Beijing will be how many years in the next year, 2025? 30, and we're still talking about, Beijing 30%. He said at least 30%. We haven't even met the mark. You can count few state governments. And I think we have to look at this beyond the federal government to all the states. Because at state level, it's important we mainstream women in grassroots politics, at local government election, because these are also where it matters most. At state assemblies, where budget and how money that will come to them is spent, that we also have women representation in policy making, in general governance. And we haven't had that. So for some women, and I've had a lot of first-hand information from women who have tried, including myself. So some of them will say, once you get out, even you have to, some will need permission from home. You may even get your husband's support, and then the family might become a problem and berate him. Why is it her going and not you? Are you not man enough? And then, so you have to do all of this battle. It's not easy. But I'm not saying, that's why we are recommending not just addition, it's a quota system, proportional representation. And it has been implemented in so many other countries, not just Nigeria. Have just a way, we're talking of inclusion, inspiring inclusion. It costs money. If it's additional seat, give it to women, to put women on the table. I recall when we went for the National Political Reform Conference, I was a delegate representing Southeast in 2005. There were initially almost less than 5 women. And they had to make a special plea then to the president. And then he said, wow, I didn't realize. And they got 30 women. In the end, it was just 30 still out of 400. It was still a party. But the president then took a special interest and said, no, we can't go to this conference without women. We've had Constitution Drafting Committee that didn't have any woman, even the one that brought the 1999 Constitution. And how can you say that women are part of
agreed, Prof. Agreed that there are challenges, Prof. But would you say that the Nigerian woman has been fair to herself? Will you say Nigerian women have been fair, to themselves, in support of women, other women?
Yeah. So when it comes to that, you have to understand the dynamics of politics. I wouldn't blame women, because you know what? Because yes, women as a whole, put it, and I agree with the statement, have not used their numerical strength to influence the political process, and then that will translate to greater representation of women. I concede. But when it comes to issue of party politics and party delegation, and then maybe ending up with women even not voting for those women who have come out as aspirants that will become candidates of party, you wouldn't give it all to men. It's the political party system and lack of internal party democracy. And there is a politics that is a mercantile politics, that will tell you people will just vote because they've been given money, and if the woman doesn't have money to pay the delegate, then you can't. And then again, if the leader of the woman says, you are going this way, I put you there as a delegate to vote this way, they will have to vote that way. And in any case, what's the number of women that make that delegates of political parties? Women are card members of parties, but they are not the gladiators. And I believe that is where it should start, even that struggle. They are spectators, used more as cheerleaders, used more in other places. And then the issue of status of woman leader or women leader have also helped to kind of cocoon and exclude them from party executive politics, like this is your place, and then you don't exceed that sphere. And even within that sphere of decision making within the party, what is the sphere of influence of those women political party leaders? So when you see maybe a woman goes to the field and maybe they said only herself voted, as we have had in the past, or presidential or no vote, I am not surprised, because of the process that trumps up the system. And again, sometimes that even the female aspirant themselves, we agree people need to also do a bit of homework. It is difficult. The terrain itself, not just that it's difficult, it's required, because we even saw some men who scored only their vote too in the last presidential election across political parties. That's why I said you have to work out all of this. It's not that easy. You know, so what was yesterday we were just chatting over making some platform, and they say Michelle Obama, for example, said, oh, I'm not gonna run. People are asking her to run in the US. And I said, somebody, that's excellent decision. She's a wise woman. That America is not even ready for another black president, not to talk of a woman. And you can see you have to assess, you know, the situation. But then in our case, that's why we think that if you take a legislative quota approach, if you take a legal approach, that will enable, because if you talk about this Rwanda, and sometimes I say, I am privileged that not just is in my lifetime that it happened, that I am part and parcel of drafting that Rwanda constitution that inserted that provision that enabled women to excel politically in Rwanda. In 2001, I spent 2 weeks with the Constitutional Drafting Committee, and we drafted this as a consultant to them, participating in that and some other constitutions of African states. So if you have, that's the quickest way. Parties can say party quotas, but they don't implement that in their manifestos and constitutions. They don't monitor, and they don't keep to the letters there. There have some parties that have said 30%. In the end, they don't do anything, because it is a struggle for inclusion and exclusion, and that's what political parties, even men are excluded, women, everybody's fighting, you know, to get nominated. So what we are saying is that, yes, it can be a temporary special measures, because when you mention affirmative action, some people will tell you, oh, you know, is that not discriminatory? Is that not against the tenet of constitution? No. Even section 42 of the constitution prohibits discrimination. But affirmative action, in terms of principle of equality and non-discrimination, which is already what we call in international law, is a jus cogens. You know, it's something like customary international law for which no derogation is permitted. It's talking about, for you to even achieve that equality, you need certain positive steps. And those certain positive steps might include temporary special measures of affirmative action. It's not just in the political arena. It can be in economic, and we see Nigeria practicing it. Section 14.3 of our constitution talk about federal character, everything. It could be Nigeria saying, okay, we recognize Niger Delta oil producing and they are suffering. We are putting Niger Delta Commission. That's affirmative action, in order to address particularities of a particular area and to make sure you mainstream them, so that whatever disadvantage they've suffered for oil exploration and maybe displacement in farming, that you compensate through other ways. So affirmative action in every facet of life and sector. But if you do it properly, you can put a time frame. When you achieve the objective, you remove it. Inclusion, for some will argue, oh, you know, that we are talking of cutting cost of governance. And if you have additional seats for women, it's going to promote governance. Inclusion, let me be very clear, costs money. And if that will bring happiness for the greatest number of people in your country, if that will give people sense of belonging, it is worth it. Women need to be seen, and women need to have that sense of belonging, that I'm a Nigerian woman, that my country respects me and respect and protect my rights, and that they accord me privileges they accord others, and then I can reach any height. It's really very important.
Thank you, Prof. Let's bring Dan Cabo into the conversation now. You're talking about protection of rights of women. You made that point. A woman should be able to have that confidence that, oh, my country respects me, or the people in my country, both men and women, respect me and protect my rights. Talking about that,
believe that you're a human being.
There's this saying that women's rights are human rights, right? And if you look at statistics, the number of women that are being raped, you talked about gender-based violence. 1 in 3 women experience gender-based violence. And then if you want to add what's happening online now, the violence online, more women also get violated online. Every woman is being abused one way or another. There are so many issues as regards the rights of women in this country. Where can we get it right as a nation? Because we know the laws are there, but the rights are still being violated on a daily basis. Just on Wednesday in the news, there was a report of a married man, almost in his 40s, raping an 8-year-old girl. These stories are everywhere, every day. And we see women even covering up some of these issues, that affect women. How can we get it right?
Upon penalty and sanctions. We have introduced in the few months ago, we are talking about a register. Prof, they are calling that register is sex offenders register. How many people have been caught? How many have been registered? How is that register public? That's on the one aspect. The issue of rights and rights violation is complicated and complex. The person herself who is violated, what is the level of her power to be able to express and report the level to which of which she is being assaulted? That power of reporting has 3 different factors. For instance, sometimes you are subordinate to the person who is assaulting you. That is the only means of survival. Let me use an example of a house help. A house help who is subjected to violence by her own parents, sending her to this kind of job. She does not earn the salary, somebody else collects. She is in a situation where she feels that is the only means of survival. She is violated, she cannot report. Again, in a community where you find these issues of sexual violence committed within a household, an uncle violating his own a daughter, they want to hide it in order to safeguard the name of the family. Your own dignity is not important. You don't want to come and talk about it because the society discriminates a girl or a lady who is raped. The mother wouldn't want that to, we had a situation where a man was assaulting his own 2 daughters. The woman could not say it because of the problem of family name, protecting family name. She doesn't want her husband's name to be put on the mud. She continued to absorb until a certain level where she feels she now have to express it. Until today, the end of that case, I think it's still being followed. How long does it take to investigate, publish, or prosecute the person? So these issues around justice is contributing to the continuation of perpetrators doing what they do because they have not is not popular, is not out in the public. If all the cases, once it is established that there is a case of violence, deal with it, prosecute, and make it public, honestly, this will reduce. It is not just happening in the homes, it is happening in the offices, it's happening in the government sectors and so on. We have a policy, we have a law, how many years in imprisonment, and then there's one that talk about complete, capital punishment. Some people are still fighting against that. But the life of the person who is subjected to violence is not seen as important as the person the right of the person who is the perpetrator. So one area is that we need to have that power and the society that protects the person who is able to come out and report. Stop the discrimination, stop the stigmatization. If I come out to report that I have been assaulted, or so the community should be able to support and protect me. And that person, whoever he is, get the punishment and in public. So if everybody will take that responsibility, that's why we are saying the issue of women's rights is global, is human rights. Because this woman that is standing alone, she has other sense of other responsibilities around her that it is not just, her life is not about her alone, positively and negatively. She takes a responsibility in terms of the unpaid care work, the things that she does that are not counted. That's why we are talking about the participation in politics. How many times, to what extent is the woman's other responsibilities that are not counted come into the calculation when it comes to the contribution to the national development and so on. So the same thing, the way the woman is seen as somebody who has a responsibility in taking care of the nation, we should also equate it to her rights, protection of her rights, both in policy, both in that's the political and then the cultural, and then her own space. Many women stand to as a collateral when it comes to women rights, but most of the time we are taken back when it comes to fear, and it is a lot of fear of uncertainty. The issue of insecurity, for instance, we have seen that women who have political ambition will like to come out, but sometimes if you insist, you pay dearly with your life. Some women, we know that some women, a number of women that are killed because they insist they want to contest politically. There are some evidences. I think there's an organization that kept documenting the number of women who are violated during elections and so on. Because once you declare your interest, from that day you start counting. In fact, somebody will tell you that your days are numbered.
All right. Thank you very much, Haja. Let me get to Asma Benzis Leo. We are trying to see how we can get women to participate more. Prof had mooted increasing special slots and all that, which failed miserably, really, at the House of Representatives particularly. But even at this time, if you want to do that, this government wants to cut cost of governance. I'm not sure how easy it will be to talk about at the same time expanding, by creating special seats. So how do we get more women to participate? Now, she said that, women don't get all the opportunities, but those who make it to general elections, how have women utilized their numbers in support of that woman? How have they utilized their influence on their children? Because women have it. Even to old age, women have influence over their children more than their fathers. How have you utilized this to make it count for those who make it to the ballot?
Thank you so much. I think the first thing is the legislative provision, whereby it will serve as an enabling environment for women to thrive in political space. It is not encouraging because politics in Nigeria is a real business, and if you are not prepared for that business, especially when it comes to money politics, godfatherism, the issue of the social and cultural norms, then we can't be talking about having an increase in the present number that we have, just like Prof pointed out. I think basically what we need to do is the aspect of engaging more with our opinion leaders and our gatekeepers at the local level. They are the custodian of our culture, and they understand everything in terms of culture, tradition, and even women decision making and their voices and agencies in the public space. I don't know whether it's religious, but in certain parts of this country, women are just to be seen and not to be heard. You can't be as a woman coming out that you are contested for an electoral position when you know that they use certain either Quranic verses or biblical verses to say, oh, this says that a woman should not contest for this. That is also debatable. I cannot say whether that is it because I am not a religious teacher.
But women are pastors these days, and I'm not sure that's a problem anymore.
So I think there needs to be proper education, sensitization, and awareness on the importance first of education. Because for me, just like Nelson Mandela of the blessed memory said, that education is the bedrock for any development at every level. And so, if this girl is educated from childhood, she understands her rights. She grows up with aspiration to become something in future. You can't stop a person that is educated and knows where he is going. What is used mostly against women is the aspect of ignorance and illiteracy. When a woman is not fully educated, and when I say education, not just the Western education or the four walls of school, but even political education. You see that women getting, like Prof said, women are quick to jump into wanting to participate in politics, occupying space without going through political mentorship. And that's what makes us different from the men. From a young age, if a boy has aspiration to become a politician, he has reference points, he has mentors who he looks up to that will hold the person and bring him to a level that tomorrow this same person will take their space when the older ones are out of the game. We don't find that. We hardly find women mentors. We hardly find godmothers in court that will say, "Oh, this is
and
why
whose fault
you
is
need
that?
to leave." It's the fault of everybody. Culture, because if that woman also understands the place of mentorship, that I owe the next generation the responsibility to train them, I owe them the responsibility to hold them to get to where I am today, then it will be a good thing. And sometimes women who have achieved that certain peak in life are also scared because they have been stigmatized, they have been labeled, they have been called names. So for them to also pick somebody's child to begin to train, they will say, "Oh, you have become so wayward. You've become," because those are those things that they label women with. So they say, "Oh, you've done it with your life. Now you're old. You want to bring somebody else's child to put her into the waywardness that you are doing." Who says that when a woman participates in politics? So in Nigeria, a woman to become a politician and to get to that level, you have to be strong-hearted. You have to be brave. You have to know your honor. Like I always, when we have this kind of conversation on the table, what I always tell people is that you need a courage, not just courage to start, but the courage to last, because it is a terrain that is dangerous. Dangerous. There are wolves. There is no man or woman in politics. It's a dangerous place. Like Nigerians will equally say, "Padi no day for jungle." So when you get there, women should also be prepared, because we always play this victim. Oh, because I'm a woman. So nobody gives you power on a platter of gold. You fight for it. You take it.
So you're
you
saying that
sustain
women
it,
have not
and you
fought
maintain-
hard enough. And maybe we should begin to
I
fight.
wouldn't agree with that.
No, we have.
Okay. All right. We'll continue on that. We'll continue in that path. But let's quickly take this break. Stay with us. All right. Welcome back. It's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. And our topic for discussion today is investing in women for national development. Our guests are still very much with us. And before we went on that break, I was trying to ask, because Asma was saying that women need to fight, to get the space they want politically. And the question was, women are not fighting enough. And Prof was going to respond to that and saying that, well, she has a different opinion as regards if women are fighting, for what they want in different space. But as you respond to that, Prof, I also have an added question to that. As a woman, I have experience as regards maybe one of the challenges that women face, and that would be the culture of silence. Asmal tried to mention the fact that women never want to mentor. They never want to share their experiences with other women about, in the political space, we have women who have been able to do something good for themselves, but you don't see them bringing people along the ladder, so that they can also get to the top. And outside politics, generally in life, you rarely find women mentoring other women like the men do. In totality. Just look at any space. Once a woman is on top, she's there alone. She rarely brings other people up the ladder with her. What is the problem, and how can we change this culture? Because I think that if one woman pulls 3 women, eventually you have 4 women at the top, and 4 women pull 4 other women. Within the space of time, we'll have more women, dominating the space, whether politically or in any field. So could you respond to that, Prof?
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, I've been in the struggle for women's rights in Nigeria for more than 3 decades. I was also a member of Women in Nigeria and served in a various executive position. And you know that Women in Nigeria was the first feminist national women's organization, also with men as members. So I really think is the process that throws up some of these people. Because, for example, if you're a woman, and you've come in on the ticket or platter of because your father is this, so you became, and then, or you have another godfather, or is a man that has been provided either that mentorship or the platform, or simply say the money to make an entry into politics. You will behold your ideology, it will still be colored, from where you're coming from. It's not easy. Behavioral, changes and people's experiences are not easy to wipe. It will require a deliberate and conscious effort. The way I will act, if I'm in those positions, or I act even as a practice, because I've been involved in civil society movement, I founded WACOL, and we made a point that 90-something% of the workforce will be women. And the whole idea is having a platform for building the next generation of transformational female leaders so that they can excel, whether in development work, whether in politics or anywhere. So I make that conscious effort because I am very aware. Before you see people break down to those behavioral changes and get to the level they motivate others, it's not something you just think of. You have to be exposed, and that's why I agree we need more sensitization and not demonization of even any woman who has made it and who is not taking other people. There has to be conscious effort to inform them. And truly, probably in Nigerian context, maybe more than 80% are not making that effort when they are in those positions to carry other women along. Some, I don't want to, also subscribe to the usual cliche, women are their worst enemies. No, men also do the same. But again, women may not have that same tenacity or boldness to go, and because you can see a man, you may be trying to waver away from your house, if you're a politician, and they keep coming around, and they keep coming around. So they will not take just immediate no. They will come in various forms. They want to serve. A woman may be first reaction, and you put her off, and then she just cares and goes away. So we also are training them, and that's sometimes a socialization process that you persevere. You also, I am so happy that every day, I was in the Nigeria call to bar yesterday for the whole week because I'm a member of also Body of Benchers. And without knowing, one of the persons that said I inspired her to read law from Ondo State was like, I've graduated, I'm being called today, I give it to you. And I said, oh, I'm here. We have to take photograph. Please come back to the back door of the, So you see, and he said, please, I want you to mentor me. She said it long ago. And other women, I welcome that. And every profession now, I tell you, recognizing the gap is not just in politics, that we don't do mentorship enough. I'm beginning to bridge that gap, even in MBA. Professionals say, look, we have to mentor, younger people, create that forum, MBA Women Forum, they are doing the same. We all need to do it, even in the civic space, in political space. In fact, there was a program we did, even in 2003, trying to match also women already there in politics with some other women aspirants coming up that they can build their capacity. Of course, the pilot wasn't scaled up, but now we need it. And I want to say that women have fought hard in building this nation, Nigeria, in the women's struggle. When you mention, we didn't mention like people like Janet Merkel, who was even in Lancaster House during the drafting of the Constitution, is often forgotten. We didn't mention there are many unsung women, even during that Aba women's, war, yes. that made it happen, that we are not even mentioned or recorded. So women have fought hard. Just take a look at the list of aspirants. This first past the post primary, which is our own electoral system. It doesn't even enable us to see the number of women may come up like 5,000. By the time they finish that process of first past the post, from 5,000 aspirants, you may get 100 candidates. And then those are not the big parties. You will see women performing better in other parties than the bigger parties where everybody is also struggling, to get nomination. So the issue is that also sometimes women who finally make it, or those who you know, despite the violent political terrain, despite the landscape and everything, and the enabling the environment that is not there, also are not people sometimes who are prepared. Some may just say, oh, we have affirmative action, oh, you have to be a woman, and they go there. They may never have been back to their village or their ward or registered, and they can come, instead of, I would say, but again, it's Nigerian system that will say, go back to your ward. They will leave that and come all of a sudden for election, and that's where you see them. You haven't worked for this, you are ill prepared. Let's know that also politics and trying to seek and run for an office has to be deliberate.
Okay.
And you have to plan also the process.
Thank
And I
you.
believe many women planned and it failed.
Thank
Also in Nigeria, just like men. You know?
Thank you, Prof. But as we gradually hit the home stretch, let's now begin to ask. Let me ask Suweba Mohammed Dankabo, what are women bringing to the table? After all said and done, when these opportunities come, when we give women the opportunities, as I wish, what are women going to do different from the men?
Resilience. Women are resilient, being experienced, and then they are having experienced all the different aspects of challenges, and then the learning that we have had, having been part of different societies. When a woman is given the opportunity, she comes in with that leadership from her heart. A woman will want to protect everyone. It is very difficult to see a woman given the opportunity and she thinks on her, or she thinks only of herself alone. Very difficult. We may have some 1, 2, 3 examples, but the majority, women want to see that her nation first, her family first, before herself. That resilience, we can learn, we can make some mistakes, but women always learn from it to build for the future. We are also bringing the number, because when every policy that is not on remains that the policy of the few. But women are democratic. So we are talking about democracy. To see the original democracy, put a woman there. And then so from the leadership that she plays in her house, remember in your own house, when I'm talking about experience, I'm talking about a woman who is a teacher without being certified as a NC certificate. She's a lawyer without being crowned as without the wig, because she judges among her children, she judges within the family, she takes that responsibility without necessarily having any paper. She is a community development worker because she has responsibilities of that community development. She serves everyone. The unpaid care burden is enough to build her responsibility, build experiences which nobody recognized. So that exclusion that Prof has been talking about, is when you pull all this and then bring that to recognition that a woman is able to do that.
All right, thank you so much, Suwaba. Women are resilient because there's so many other attributes of Nigerian women, and from the names that we've mentioned so far, and for the women in this room, I know that we are also breaking ceilings in our respective fields. And joining us now is also another woman, who is very vocal about the plight of women, and also breaking barriers, if you like, as far as her endeavors are talked about. We have Honorable Adedayo Benjamin Daniye, the Mandate Secretary, FCT Women Affairs Secretariat, joining us for the conversation. Many thanks for joining us, ma'am.
Happy International Women's Day.
All right, we can see that you're looking really beautiful this morning, and I'm sure that you have programs, set aside for the women in the FCT today. But, just so you could give us your views about women. We've talked about, you're in the political space, and we've talked about the fact that women are not representing enough, if you like. They're not taking enough space like they should. Could you share with us what the challenges are, from your experience?
The challenge for me simply is this, that every woman rise up to the challenge to become the champion of her own space, her own immediate community, and the opportunity that her representation in her platform professionally, or just in the space of relationships, in the place of her service to community and to her immediate place of assignment, this is what will give her her distinctive representation. Politically, we become politicians when we have evolved through our own engagements as that service agent driving change. We're talking about leadership, and I was listening to that, you know, what women do when they're given the opportunity to lead. We're born to lead. And the truth is, a woman's difference is who she is. What we bring, not just to the table, but to every space we go into, is the difference we are. So many people view women as profiled as emotional, sentimental. The truth is it's not the emotional that makes us distinct. It's our emotional intelligence applied to our administrative and other professional as well as entrepreneurial opportunities. Politics demands, as I had learned, and I restate every time, that you stay in the room. You're in it to win it. But if you don't win it, stay in it to finish, because it's not about you. You are representing an entire demographic. I think we have recycled and rehearsed the statement over and over, oh, we don't have enough representation. What we have, let's move with that. Because honestly, while you may be waiting for an entire movement, we are evolving as a movement. We are evolving in our distinctive spaces representationally. And today, like you said, in this studio, look at the value of the women who are here. Look at the value as empowered by our own collateral in our different spaces. Even you, that is my host, talking about NTA and all the gamut of women who have not just been broadcasters as newscasters. They become personalities within the public political domain. Look at the Honorable Abike Dabiri. It's not just her. We look at all the entire gamut of people who have come out and done incredible things from media with NTA or any other reference to become women who directly impact polity, policy, and politics. So for me, you stay with it. We're in it to win it. I'm a politician by disruption. Which woman isn't? And the truth of the matter is, it's not about what anybody gives us. It's about who we are. Nobody gives us leadership to lead. We are born to lead. Like whether we are serving it from a Kose sale point in Gwagwalada, or you are delivering it as a CEO of a top corporate enterprise, you are the woman who makes the difference by being that distinctive agent of change. I love to say, women, because many times people will say, because you are a mother, you're a leader. No, 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 no. Above being a mother, be a model. And above being a model, be a supermodel of leadership. But how do we evolve into that distinctive place of leadership as women? We are L, learners. Keep that L plate on us. In the place of humility, we work in a patriarchal society. This is just the reality of where we are. And if I'm going to come at the patriarchy with a direct stance and posture that makes them push me back, then I have to learn, as every woman needs to learn, how to rearrange my strategic posture so that I am given an opportunity not just to be in the room, but to be heard and to be re-invited again. Because I think the tragedy of any opportunity is not just that you weren't ready, but that you got there and you messed the opportunity up.
Talking about messing the opportunity of Honorable Lani, you have hit a very good point, which the men always use to attack women. That whenever they get up an opportunity for some women, they mess it up, and maybe that's why we're not having more women in the room, or we're not having more women stay in the room.
Now let me get to that. Every woman's mess is her message. So let no man come and tell me that women mess it up. Men mess it up all the time. They have an entire gamut of men messing everything up. But why don't we get that same narrative? The truth of the matter is this: yes, the spotlight is on us when we get into positions. But the reality is, don't embrace that narrative that, oh, when women get there, they do this. Every woman's mess is her message. And every woman's test is her testimony. Whatever the trial is, you will triumph through it. Which woman doesn't have a story, and which man doesn't have a worse off story too? I don't want to become, how do I put it, agitational in the face of that. But, you know, every time I hear that, it's like I have to find some excuse for some woman who quote unquote has messed up. Excuse me, please. For every woman that's messed up, go check out. I don't know what the statistics are.
All right,
hearing
thank
a man speak now?
But I don't think
Am I
that we
hearing
should
a man
begin.
speak now?
I don't think.
Happy International
I
Women's
don't
Day
think that we should
celebrates
begin
all
to
the men.
compete
We
about
are
who
not
messes it up
competing,
the
we are
most.
completing. We are not competing.
I don't think we should
we are
not begin to
completing
weigh who
each
messes
other.
up the most, because at the
Yes.
end of the day, what we want is to develop the country. But let me ask Asma Benzis Leo, we are gradually rounding off, no more time. But same as I asked you about, what would you say women bring to the table differently? Of course, certainly not messing up.
Well, there are 3 C's, I call them: courage, competence, and capacity. You see, every woman, like I said, and I want to re-emphasize it here, has to have courage. Auntie Dio just said it, you know, and that is it. If you do not have the courage to bring to the table, then we don't continue reinventing women that have, you know, chicken-hearted women in position. Why some women don't do well is because, like Prof said, they were instituted or they were brought in by patriarchy, in the sense that a man somewhere, either the father, the husband, the uncle, or a colleague that is a man, so her thinking, though in a feminine form, but in a masculine space. So she will do the bidding, of course, of whoever brought her there. So courage to last, like I said, and I still say it again. Women that aspire to occupy leadership position, whether elective or appointive, must have courage. To lead this country is not more. You need courage.
Right,
then you also need capacity.
And competence. Thank you so
Capacity
much,
is
Asma.
very important.
Thank you. Because of time,
Yeah.
you know, we would need to round off the conversation now. Prof, your last thoughts as we round off the conversation. What's a message to women as we celebrate International Women's Day? And of course to the men too. We always celebrate every year.
Yeah.
Do we make a difference?
Yes, I say don't give up. Keep doing what you're doing. It matters. Inclusion, we must continue the demand. And I urge government at all levels to keep investing in women. It pays off. That's the only way our nation will get developed. A democracy or development that is not engendered is in danger. For sustainable democracy, we need that inclusion. And
right.
women matter.
Thank
Women
you.
matter for national development.
Thank you very much, Prof. And,
Did you hear that?
Your
A development
final-
that is not engendered is endangered.
Your final thoughts. Don't
think
worry,
I like
I'll
that.
tell you what I'll do after now.
Women really need to stand together. We need to stand together and then build our own self-courage, while we also look onto the government to create an enabling environment. Issue of insecurity, battling the women really need to be taken away. We need favorable policies that is gender inclusive.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Honorable Ladi.
Ladi Benjamin.
I just want to say on behalf of the Federal Capital Territory that we are ready.
And in the spirit and the power of my Honorable Minister, His Excellency Barrister Nyesom Wike, we say that women are the project and the priority project for building our socioeconomic representation. All across the nation and all around the world, we sing our song for women everywhere. Let it ring around the world and never cease. We sing our song for women everywhere. Equality, development, and peace. Happy International Women's Day.
Beautiful. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I've had fantastic
Thank you.
guests on the program this morning. I must say I enjoyed myself. I don't know about Victor. I want to appreciate
I'm not frowning at least.
Every Victor, there's a Victoria. We celebrate it. Thank you.
I want to appreciate Professor Joy Ngozi Ezialo, SEN. Thank you so much for joining us for the conversation. Of course, wishing you all the best. Suwaiba Mohammed Dankabo, thank you so much for your insights this morning. We also appreciate Usman Benzis Leo. Thank you so much for joining us for the conversation. And of course, always a pleasure to have Honorable Adedayo Benjamin Alani, Monday Secretary FCT, for the conversation. We do appreciate every one of you. And yes, we're looking forward to Nigerian women, you know, changing the narrative, of course, breaking ceilings everywhere. And yes, making us proud as a nation. I'm Ian Ray John. That's Good Morning Nigeria today. Happy International Women's Day to all women out there. And Victor.
Well, I think after now I'll begin to champion an International Men's Day. You can have women all over the place.
That will not fly.
Well, that's Good Morning, Nigeria. My name is Victor Azo. I thank you for watching and do enjoy the rest of your day.